Ellie, would you like to tell us about our Dungeon Master tip?
Yeah, our dungeon master tip is how to deal with bored players at the table.
It's
Oh,
actually really hard to do sometimes.
yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like I struggle to keep Ian's attention most days.
What?
Okay, maybe not.
As dungeon masters, we can sometimes lose the attention of the players during the game. While most times it's just one player, on a rare occasion, a session may not be going the way we want. So, what can we do when our players seem disengaged or uninterested in the story?
I know this one.
Yeah, you wrote it.
Oh, okay. Continue.
A common recommendation is to disrupt the flow of the game.
Ooh, do you got any examples?
Personally,
Or on paper, it's fine.
I
whatever.
mean, you can. If you're asking me
I am
personally,
asking
yeah.
you, Ellie.
So, yeah, disrupting the flow of the game. You could introduce a new character. You could.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, have the big bad show up and throw things around a little bit.
I like that. What do you guys think?
I like that one. Yes, I've recently done something like that to help a board player.
Would you elaborate? Experience is everything.
Sure,
Share with the audience.
I will share.
All two of them.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in here. Wow, I just never mind.
Wow.
uh,
Ellie, can you cut that part out? They don't need to know.
Yeah, I
Hey, don't
definitely
know
will.
that. Yeah, there's 40 people in this room.
No, we're not going to lie.
Right? Yeah, there's 40 people.
There are how many?
Woo!
How many chairs? How many chairs are in this room?
Oh, anyway,
I promise you, there are 6 tables and 40 plus chairs in this room right now.
a player recently broke a law by murdering somebody, and a bunch of guards saw him do it, and he got arrested and put in jail, and he split the party. And as I think I said this in the last
Like,
panel,
is that
but
the
there's
person he
people
killed?
that weren't in here. No.
Split the. Okay.
As he was being arrested, the rest of the
Fatality.
party saw him being arrested, and they go, "Nope," and they just took off, and they left him there. When they had split, he had spent that time in the jail cell. And was like, "Oh, shit, he's in a jail cell. There's nothing to do in jail."
That's the point.
And he
Suffer.
sat there, and so I started figuring. I was like, "Okay, what am I gonna do?" It's like, "There's a goblin in there with you. His name is Yup." And he
Welcome
started
to my
talking to him.
cell.
He's like, "What are you in here for?" It's like, "Oh, I don't know." And he started having this split personality. He's like, "Oh, okay, I can see." He started getting into conversations with all the other inmates and the guards, and he started bad mouthing the guards and all that stuff. He ended up getting an offer from the mayor, who is one of the generals of the big bad, who's taken over this town, and say, "Hey, you go find your allies and you bring them here, and I'll give you a bunch of really cool stuff."
Hey, you'll be released too.
And he took it too, didn't
Oh, yes, he did.
he? What do you think, Ian?
That's definitely one way to go about it.
Have you had an experience like this?
Well, I'm sure I have, but there's definitely a few things, curveballs you can do to keep things moving along.
Yeah.
Such like something whoever's not paying attention, someone gets their pocket picked.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a really good one. That's really common. So when we talk about disrupting the flow, if the players are doing something and nobody's engaged, this term comes from explosions. Just have something explode.
Yep.
That seems a little over the top, right?
Yes.
But there's no reason something like that couldn't happen. Adventurers are abound. Your adventurers aren't the only douchebags in town, blowing stuff up, starting fires, right? Right?
Yeah.
No, maybe because we always know that players start problems, they burn down inns and everything. Have something happen. It can be an explosion. One of my favorites, and I think I talked about this in the homebrew or not the homebrew, the GM panel, is in one of the adventure pass in Red Large, a large sinkhole opens up in the middle of whatever they're doing.
Yep.
It just happens. That's interesting. Even if it doesn't involve the main story, if my characters are bored, having a sinkhole open from something passing by, and they get in there and they crawl in. This is feces from a purple worm. We should probably leave.
Ew.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the point is to make something that shocks them. And what happens is really not relevant, but it's the actions that the players have and that they can take that make it exciting. So I mentioned explosions, right? That's the most common one where I saw this kind of disruption occur, and it says it's not about the fact that there was an explosion. The explosion's done. Whether they figure out who did it or not isn't important. What is important is how the players react. Okay, the building's on fire. That's one choice. Deal with that. Or there are a variety of people underneath the rubble and need help, bellowing for help. They're different ages. They're different social status. You've got several that are children underneath. You've got an older couple that is buried underneath. You have a noble who's screaming at the players to get over here and help me, stupid peasants. Stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
Because then there
You
we
didn't
get,
say please.
we get to expand on characters, right? Because that's what it's all about, right? Engaging the players, engaging their characters. So when that happens, the greedy rogue might be like, well, how much you going to pay me, sir? I got a lot of options out here right now, and I don't really like you at the moment. So and another person might say, I got to go save the children. Who's going to go save the old person? Well, the old person's probably going to die in a few weeks anyway. Is it really worth our time? Those are the choices you want to set in front of your players. And so when they're bored, make those opportunities for their characters to develop and make choices, because that's what engages players. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, well, let me also add, like, even if it's not, a boring lull in the campaign, it's, maybe it's just maybe you're doing a shopping episode, and sometimes those just aren't the most fun or
I
engaging
think the
all
word
of
you're
the
looking
time.
for is boring.
Well, yeah, but you could do something as simple as like change the weather.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So now you're out shopping in the rain. How are you dealing with that while also, trying to get what you need?
I like that.
Is that Gene Kelly thing in the background?
Oh, okay. You just you touched on another a good one. So we're talking about disrupting. We want to disrupt the board players at the table. The weather changing is a really good one, because that might be related to some other thing you decide later on. Wizards can alter weather all the time,
Yep.
right? That's their shtick.
And
It's
I think it was more of a druid thing, but hey.
well, okay. Magic users.
There we go.
Is that generic enough for you?
Yes.
Stab you.
Especially when you got a druid who's like, oh, I'm going to use druidcraft. Let's see, is it going to rain today? No, it's not. And like 3 hours later, it
It
starts
rains
raining.
or
Like,
storming or
whoa.
hailing.
To be fair,
That
druid cast is
becomes-
for 24 hours.
That becomes interesting. So now it starts hailing. Softball rocks are falling out of the sky. There's people out on the roads. Are the players going to be like, oh, man, those people are dying? I'm glad I got a roof over my head, Or are they going to take action? Are they going to be interested in why it's all of a sudden started hailing out of nowhere?
Sub-Zero.
That's fatality. That's how you break up board players. You engage their characters with choices. And if you can tie those choices to their personality, ideals, bonds, and flaws, it's going to go that much farther,
Yep.
right?
And there's like a small thing that needs to be adjusted too. Sometimes if your players are bored, it just might be your fault.
Yeah, if that is something we can suck, all right? Dungeon Masters, you can suck. You can have a bad day, you can be not prepared, you could just not be feeling it that day. If the game just is sucking, just call it a night and say, you know what, I'm just not in the mood, and end it. And if it's because you suck, ask your players what you can do to get better, because otherwise you're just going to keep sucking.
Or sometimes the hook you give is that terrible.
Yes. Don't give. That's why multiple hooks are important. I recommend at least 2 or 3.
Yep.
You don't want to throw out one fishing line and then them not be interested. As you're reeling it in, you're like, bitches, take this.
You can't reach into the water, grab that fish, and say, take it.
No, you got to throw it. So I like to throw out a couple lines, right? All right, I think that'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip, how to deal with bored players at the table. I feel like I could talk an entire episode on that topic.
You probably could. You know what? Does your next episode idea right now? Write it down.